Also, I forgot to mention that those weapons are pretty much indestructible as they are made of a special metal that my father himself created, Kurama said. Naruto hesitantly placed his right hand on the hilt and lifted the weapon from the wall holding it. It seemed as though it was made of metal. It wasn't particularly heavy, and it wasn't even draining Naruto of chakra. For now, it seemed as nothing more than an ordinary weapon. As Naruto removed the fan from the wall, a piece of paper fell to the ground. Naruto bent over and picked it up, and there was writing in it. Minato, it's good to see that you are still alive and well. I heard you are making quite a name to yourself. I guess you will be next in line for the Hokage position. I'm proud of you. I've sent you my favorite weapon as a gift, since there is no Uchiha alive that can wield it properly besides you and me. Also, my time is nearing its end. Use it if you wish, but I guess that with me being your father, it would destroy your credibility if word would leak out. A word of warning. I still intend to bring peace to this world, and I hope we don't find each other in opposite paths. Good luck in your future and never forget your origins. Your father, you? M. Naruto reread the letter several times and still had trouble believing that it was a congratulating letter of some sort from Madara to his son. Would you look at this? Naruto said out loud, but nobody was listening except Kurama. I may hate Madara for controlling me, but I guess in the end, he still cared for his family, even though he clearly warned him, Kurama said, as his respect for Madara grew a little bit. He still despised him, but at least he didn't forget his family. To foxes, there wasn't anything more terrible and demeaning than abandoning your own kin. Do you think he would hurt his own son to achieve his goals? Naruto asked. How should I know? It's not like I knew Madara on a personal level, Kurama replied. At least he's trying to bring peace to the world. That can't be a bad thing. Naruto mused out loud. He said his time was short, so I guess he's truly dead, Naruto said as he picked the weapon and left the letter in the same place. It was the only thing he had that truly connected him to his grandfather. I suppose, Kurama said. End flashback cage box. Is that? The Kazekage asked when he noticed the weapon Naruto had pulled from his storage seal. There in Naruto's hand was the one and only war fan used by Uchiha Madara. It is Uchiha Madara's war fan. To think I would see it again, the Hokage said, shocked that Naruto was in possession of said weapon. He knew very well that weapon since it was created by the Sage of Six Paths, and that it was a powerful tool. I guess he was telling the truth. He really is Madara's grandson to be wielding his legendary gunbai, the Raikage commented. Kumo had gathered all of Rikudo Sennin tools, and they thought they had them all, but they didn't know that this fan was one of them as well. That brat really is a gold mine, Orochimaru thought, salivating at everything he learned today. Let's see if he can use it properly, the Raikage said. He knew a lot about Uchiha Madara. After all, the man was a legend and hailed as one of the strongest shinobi to ever exist, being defeated only by Senju Hashirama. Even to this day, both of them are claimed to be something above shinobi, as even the more skilled ones couldn't even compete against such foes. Crowd, impossible, Sasuke said out loud as he watched Naruto grip Madara's gunbai. Looks like Naruto was telling the truth. He really is Madara's grandson. It matters not, no one will stand in my way, Sasuke thought. What is so special about that fan? Sakura asked. She didn't know why that fan provoked such reaction from Sasuke. Well, it isn't exactly taught in the academy, but that weapon is very well known among the older population. That weapon was Uchiha Madara's trademark weapon. He used it to blow away shinobi by creating powerful gusts of wind. It may have other powers, but I only heard of that one. He also used it to power up his fire attacks to the point he could unleash a true inferno into his enemies, Kakashi explained, and Sasuke seethed his teeth. That weapon should be in Sasuke's hand so he could defeat his brother. Unbelievable, Sakura said. Naruto seemed to be an endless pit of surprises. Where did he get it? I know from history that Madara left the village, Sakura asked. That I don't know, Kakashi replied while eyeing Hinata. Hinata sighed before she started explaining. It seemed that today she was the narrator in Naruto Story. It was a gift Madara sent to his son and Naruto's father. Hinata briefly explained, not wanting to go into much detail. He had it all this time? Kakashi asked, to no one with eyes widened. He never in a million of years would have thought his sensei had possession of such weapon. He had been to his house several times but never saw it. Well, he never actually went to the basement for that fact. I don't know what else to expect from the brat, Zabuza said, chuckling. He could never figure out the brat no matter how hard he tried. I'm sort of glad I didn't join this year's Chunin exams. I don't think I would stand a chance against such powerful opponents, Haku exclaimed. Don't sell yourself, Sort Haku. You are very strong, Zabuza said. Thank you, Zabuza-san, Haku replied. Arena, let me show you my true power. No borrowed power, just me, Naruto stated out loud as his grip on his fan became stronger. Sand bullet, the transformed Gaara said. And from his new sand body exploded dozens of small spheres of sand that went towards Naruto with groundbreaking speed. Naruto, using his Sharingan, calculated the bullet's path, and with a single swing of his fan, he completely destroyed the bullets, leaving no evidence of it. Naruto quickly made single-handed hand seals that he learnt from Haku, and practiced it by using them in conjunction with his gunbai as his fan occupied his right hand. Keiton Karyu Endan, Fire Dragon Bullet, Naruto called out and unlashed a massive torrent of white flames towards Gaara. Naruto, as he was unleashing his fire, he swinged his fan and said, Futon, fanned wind, and a powerful gust of wind emerged from his fan, powering his flames. That was Naruto's most powerful fire attack. An A-rank attack, however, this attack was powered by the fan's wind, easily making it jump to S-rank. Gaara coiled himself with his tail protecting his head and was engulfed in the flames, completely disappearing from view. Many people in the crowd and even some of the shinobi had to protect their eyes and avert their faces from the arena due to the amount of heat and light being generated from Naruto's attack. The proctor was considering if he would come out alive, and he wasn't even fighting. He was more concerned in running for his life, trying to get out of the way of the flames that seemed to engulf the whole arena. Enough! Gaara yelled, and unleashed a roar that dispersed the flames around him, revealing a scorched Gaara, but otherwise okay. It seemed that sand powered by Shukaku's chakra made it unable to transform in glass and be destroyed. Gaara dashed towards Naruto, cocking his mutated right arm, trying to punch Naruto. Naruto channeled chakra to his gunbai, and a semi-transparent circular barrier appeared in mid-air. Gaara's right arm connected with the barrier, and a shockwave erupted, but the barrier didn't even waver or crack, and Gaara recoiled his arm in pain. Futon Mugen Sajin Daitapa, Infinite Sand Great Breakthrough. Gaara said, before multiple mouths formed all over his body, taking air in. They all breathed out at the same time and unleashed a powerful gust of wind filled with sand. Naruto pumped chakra into his fan and swinging it, Naruto created an equally powerful gust of wind that negated Gaara's attack. Naruto placed his fan in his back and secured it with chakra so she wouldn't slide off. Naruto immediately dashed towards Gaara, and everyone could hear electricity crackling in his hands as it sounded even stronger than the ordinary Chidori. Gaara brought his mutated arm to try and hit Naruto to disrupt his attack, but that didn't work, as Gaara wanted it to. Raikiri! Naruto yelled, and infusing his right hand with lightning chakra, he continued his path towards Gaara, completely tearing through his arm, and shoving his Raikiri trough Gaara's right shoulder, making him cry in pain as blood spattered to the ground. Crowd. Looks like Naruto can use that fan rather well, Zabuza said, as he watched Naruto powering his flames, using wind created by his fan, but also creating some sort of shield to block Gaara's punch. Yes, apparently that fan has more powers that I didn't know, Kakashi mused out loud as he watched the battle unfold. They watched the battle unfold when Naruto placed his fan on his back, and they heard a similar chirping like the Chidori. What's that? Sasuke asked, as he had his Sharingan activated and tried to copy Naruto's technique. It looks like the Chidori, Sasuke stated. That's the upgraded version of my Chidori, Kakashi flatly said. What? There is a stronger version. Why didn't you teach me that one instead? Sasuke asked, demanding answers. The Raikiri is an S-rank technique. You can only do the normal Chidori twice a day, and the Raikiri takes that same amount to perform, meaning you might not have enough chakra to perform it. Kakashi explained, and Sasuke scowled. How the hell does Naruto has more chakra than me? During our fight he used a lot of jutsu, and look at him throwing jutsu like shurikens. How can he have so much? Sasuke asked, almost yelling. You can call it the Kekkei Genkai of the Uzumaki clan. Their members are born with unusually large chakra reserves. An ordinary Chunin has chakra that can rival Kage levels. Kakashi explained, and Sasuke scowled. If I told him he was a Senju, Sasuke would most likely faint. A Senju using the Sharingan. Ironic, Kakashi thought. So he has 2 Kekkei Genkais? Sakura asked. The chakra reserves aren't considered a Kekkei Genkai, so he only has the Sharingan, Kakashi explained, and Sasuke muttered something about lucky dobes.
Cage box. I don't think this can be considered an ordinary Chunin exams, the Raikage stated out loud.
The amount of skill being used easily placed them in Jonin level. True, their skill is far beyond the regular Genin or Chunin for that matter. The Hokage agreed. And by the looks of it, it really is Madara's war fan by seeing the amount of power he's using. The Raikage commented with his hand on his chin. The Kazekage kept silent throughout the whole conversation and was considering when to signal the beginning of the invasion, since Gaara seemed to be in partial transformation and could at any time unleash the full Biju. Arena. Blood, it's my blood! Gaara screamed in pain as he felt for the first time in his whole life the warmth of his blood. Suddenly the sand around rose to the sky and exploded in smoke. When the smoke cleared, it showed an 80 feet tall sand tanuki with one tail. It was the fully released Ichibi, also known as Shukaku. Naruto watched the tanuki in front of him very carefully. Suddenly, all around the arena, it started falling feathers from the sky. So it begins, Naruto thought as he placed his hands in the ram hand seal and said, Kai, breaking the illusion. The invasion has begun, Naruto said as he prepared himself to face the fully unleashed Shukaku. Chapter 24. Invasion Konoha. Outskirts, about a half a mile outside of Konoha, there was an ANBU team doing patrol. It was a regular mission, and they seemed calm as patrol mission very rarely presented any trouble at all. Although they seemed calm on the outside, all of the ANBU personnel was warned about the incoming invasion, and as such they were all in high alert, they just didn't show it. Suddenly an ANBU of said team stopped and looked around. Sense anything? Another ANBU asked. No, Captain. The ANBU that stopped replied another thing to his team leader using the ANBU sign language. Possible shinobi group, the Anbu said, and the leader nodded. The ANBU quickly and stealthily approached the encampment and say, 8 sand shinobi fathered in a circle. In the middle of the circle was kanji spread through it, and stopping just near each of the sand shinobi's feet. Each of the sand shinobis had a small scroll in their mouths and was going trough hand seals very slowly. From the looks of it, the technique seemed awfully complicated, and it seemed they must not get it wrong. Looks like a summoning ring, one ANBU said to their captain. Yes, we can't allow them to summon anything. Get in your positions, the captain ordered. I can't allow that, a voice suddenly said behind them. They all turned around and saw a man. He had auburn hair, dark eyes. He wore a simple black jacket and pants with mesh armor underneath. He carried a small canister strapped to his hip. It was none other than the Yondaime Kazekage himself. Suddenly, what appeared to be sand started flowing out of his canister, and quickly and swiftly it wrapped around all 4 ANBU, crushing them to death. Let's get this over with, the Kazekage commanded. Stadium, crowd. What's this? Sakura asked as she watched feathers start falling from nowhere, making her sleepy. Genjutsu? She asked right before breaking the illusion. Genjutsu? Sasuke wondered as he also broke the illusion. We are being invaded by the sound and sand, Kakashi explained, as he fought against a couple of sound shinobi. What? Sakura yelled. The sand is our ally, she stated. They are no longer our allies. We knew about this invasion since the end of the second phase of the Chunin exams, so we are prepared, Kakashi said, trying to ease the worries of a fresh genin. Then why didn't we know? Sasuke asked, getting pissed off by being kept in the dark. We had to keep it a secret so they didn't find out we knew. Kakashi said. Sakura was pretty much terrified from what was happening. She never had any real type of mission aside from the wave mission that got bumped into an A rank, so she was pretty fresh. Sakura was from a civilian family, and as such she wasn't prepared from the hardships of a shinobi life and lived her life sheltered in Konoha. Sakura was about to ask another thing when they noticed Gaara explode in sand and showing his fully transformed Biju. Sakura never got so scared in her life in seeing such a colossal beast right in front of her. In that moment, she realized what people must have faced when the Kyuubi attacked 14 years ago. Sensei Gaara, Sakura tried to say, but her voice didn't reach her. She looked around, and everyone from her graduation class as sleeping along with the civilians. Only Sakura, Hinata, and apparently Sasuke managed to dispel the genjutsu. Sasuke is an arrogant kid, but he isn't without skill. Don't worry, Sakura. I said we planned for this, and Naruto will take care of Gaara, Kakashi said. You mean that Dobe knew while me and Uchiha Elite didn't? Sasuke asked. This isn't the time, Genin, Kakashi said in a serious voice. Your mission is to help evacuate the civilians to the shelters. Wake up your classmates and separate into teams. Go! Kakashi commanded, and Sakura immediately jumped to her feet, while Sasuke was reluctant, but nodded as well. Hinata, team up with Zabuza and Haku and start sweeping and treating those you can, Kakashi said, and she nodded. Holy! Kakashi all but yelled when he looked at the arena and saw a massive poof of smoke. But the surprising part was that the smoke wasn't coming from Shukaku, but rather from Naruto himself. Cage box. When Orochimaru gave the signal to start the invasion, the entire Kage box erupted in smoke, blocking the sight of the Kages and making the guards take defensive maneuvers to ensure the safety of their leader. Every one of them jumped from the Kage box and to the nearby roof. What neither of them expected was for the Kazekage's guards to suddenly become 4's people, each one of them taking a corner of the roof. Each one of the guards was from the sound. All of them went through the same hand seals at the same time. They all shouted, Ninpu, Shishi Engine, Ninja Art, 4 Flames Formation, and a purple barrier, like the one in the arena, emerged and trapped the Kages inside. Inside the barrier was the Hokage, the Raikage, the Kazekage, and surprisingly, there was also Jiraiya, who managed to follow his sensei to the roof and also got trapped inside. What's the meaning of this? The Raikage asked, not pleased with what was happening. Each of the Kages was keeping a secure distance from each other. I'm sorry for not warning you, Raikage Dono, but I didn't know which side you would take. The Hokage spoke and made the Raikage glare at him. Explain, the Raikage almost shouted. Let's me make the honors, Raikage, the Kazekage said before removing his clothes and revealing a smirking Orochimaru. Orochimaru? The Raikage asked, not believing his eyes. How could Orochimaru be posing as the Kazekage and neither he nor his guards noticing it? I am, Orochimaru replied with a twisted smile. Now, sensei, let the fun begin, Orochimaru said, licking his lips in anticipation. You fool, it's 3 against 1. You stand no chance, the Raikage replied, getting raised eyebrows from the Hokage and Jiraiya. Kumo and Konoha were never in really good terms since the Hyuga kidnapping. 3? The Hokage asked hopefully. Yes, I will fight with you. Consider it an apology for my father's mistakes, the Raikage said before gathering his voice and shouting, Kumo, we fight for Konoha. Hi! Darui! C and Killer B yelled from outside the barrier before splitting and going to face the sound and sand head-on. I appreciate it, Raikage Dono, the Hokage said. Perhaps there was hope to an alliance between the 2 most powerful hidden villages. Yes, now let's skin a snake, the Raikage said, smirking. Orochimaru never expected Kumo to join Konoha. That is why, even thought the Raikage was present, Orochimaru still launched his invasion. Naive, Orochimaru said before going trough hand seals. Orochimaru may be a lot of things, but one thing he wasn't was stupid, and as such, he was prepared for such odds. Tiger, snake, dog, dragon. Orochimaru went through the hand seals and clapped his hands. Kuchiyose, Edo Tensei, Orochimaru said, and almost immediately 4's coffins sprouted from the ground. The coffins slowly opened and revealed 4's shinobis seemingly dead, but in reality, they were just waiting for Orochimaru to activate them for the upcoming battle. Shit! The Raikage, Hokage, and Jiraiya all thought at the same time when they saw who was in each of the summoned coffins. Arena Naruto watched in wonder the sheer size of Shukaku. "That's one big raccoon," Naruto said. "Hayate," Naruto said, turning to him. "Leave the arena," Naruto said, and he nodded, knowing full well that Naruto was responsible for taking him down, and having him there could disturb Naruto's fight. "Kurama, juice me," Naruto thought to his partner. "Okay," Kurama replied before sending chakra to Naruto. Almost instantly, a semi-transparent red cloak enveloped Naruto. His eyes turned blood red with a black vertical slit in the middle. His whiskers marks became more pronounced and his fangs elongated. In Naruto's back, 9 chakra tails were swinging wildly as if they didn't have a mind of their own. Naruto placed his hands in a cross sign and said, "Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu," and in an instant, nearly 2,000 clones popped into existence, consuming his cloak, each one of them with enough chakra to match a Jonin. There were Narutos as far as the eye could see. "Spread through the village. Your priority is to protect and evacuate the civilians. Provide assistance where you can," Naruto ordered. Hi, all of the clones chorused before jumping away from the arena, leaving their creator to fight the Ichibi. Naruto placed his hands again in a cross sign and said, "Enhanced Shadow Clone," and a single clone poofed into existence. This clone was like the rest. However, he was reinforced, making him more durable than the others and capable of taking hits before dispelling. "Join with Hinata-chan and protect her," he said, and the clone nodded before using the Hirashin to teleport himself to Hinata. "Shadow Clone Jutsu," Naruto said, and 4's clones poofed into existence. "Kurama, I'll put up a barrier. Can you take control of the Bushins and hold it in place?" Naruto asked. Keeping 2,000 shadow clones active, powering an S-rank barrier, and still be able to fight a Biju required too much concentration that Naruto wasn't capable of yet. "No problem," Kurama replied. In an instant, the 4's clones sprinted to the 4 corners of the arena. They went through hand seals at the same time and said, "Ninpu, Shishienjin, Ninja Art, 4 Flames Formation," and a purple barrier erupted, trapping Shukaku and Naruto inside. However, before the whole barrier could close, 3 sand shinobis jumped over the forming barrier and landed inside. They were Sabaku no Tamari, Sabaku no Kankuro, and their Jonin Sensei Baki. "Damn," Naruto said, as he watched the sand shinobi take place near Gaara. "This has just got a lot more dangerous." No holding back, Naruto thought before permanently keeping his EMS activated. His hand tightly gripped his fan as he became battle-ready to go off against a Jonin, 2 Genin, and Biju. "I'll have to take out Kankuro and Tamari first," Naruto thought before releasing his grip on his fan and taking from his storage seals a couple of 3-pronged kunais. Naruto watched as the sand shinobi jumped to head of Shukaku, and yet he did nothing to remove them. Looks like Gaara is mostly in control, Naruto thought. He looked up to Shukaku's head and noticed Tamari reading her fan and Kankuro unwrapping his bundle revealing a puppet. Great, a puppet user, just my luck, Naruto thought. His odds didn't look so good. He cursed himself for not training his eyes further so he could use the techniques Kurama told him. "You made me feel alive, Uzumaki!" Shukaku yelled. But it clearly was Gaara's voice. "Crazy bastard!" Naruto thought as he launched his 3-pronged kunai towards the enemy, but was blocked by Baki's kunai. Baki looked at the kunai and was interested in the design as it was different from the others. Until he remembered where he saw them, he remembered the legend that used these kunais to decimate an army. "Are these?" Baki wondered before he picked the kunai up with his hands and noticed the kanji in the handle. "Wrong move," Naruto said before flashing towards the kunai he previously thrown. All they saw was a yellow flash before Naruto appeared behind Baki and slammed a Rasengan into his back, and he went flying and crashing into the ground completely out. Naruto ducked under a fan swing from Tamari and gave her a punch to the stomach, making her buckle in pain. Naruto punched Temari and jumped to the side to avoid a barrage of senbon thrown by Kankuro's puppet. Naruto quickly picked another kunai and threw at Kankuro's real body. Kankuro fumbled between his weapons when he saw Naruto throw the same kunai he used to take out his sensei, who was Jonin. Kankuro did the only thing he thought and jumped away far enough from the kunai's reach. Naruto jumped from the Ichibi as sand was starting to gather around his feet, trying to snare him in place. He approached Baki. He was still alive, although barely. Naruto picked Baki up and quickly stored him in a stasis seal. "What the hell was that?" Kankuro asked with fear clearly splashed in his voice. The blonde in front of them just took out their sensei like he was nothing. "Idiot, don't you remember history from the academy?" Temari asked as she recovered from the blow Naruto delivered her. Seeing Kankuro's oblivious face, Temari decided to explain. "That technique, that yellow flash, is the same the Yondaime Hokage used that gave him the name of Yellow Flash. He used a technique of his creation that allowed him to teleport to the kunais he threw and used it to kill almost 1,000 shinobis from Iwa in a flash. He alone won the war." Temari explained, and Kankuro turned to the blonde who was busy dodging the sand. "I see you know history very well," a voice whispered just behind Temari's ear. She turned her head slightly and was greeted by no one other than Naruto. Kankuro just had enough to blink. He was watching Naruto dodge the sand when suddenly he appeared right behind Temari. "How?" Temari asked, stuttering, clearly afraid of Naruto. He possessed a technique that allowed the Yondaime to kill an entire battalion of shinobi in an instant. "When I punched you in the stomach, I left my mark on you," Naruto simply replied before giving her a quick chop to the back of her head, knocking her out. He quickly flashed to the ground with an unconscious Temari and sealed in stasis scroll as well. "You bastard!" Kankuro growled from the top of the Ichibi before sending his puppet to attack Naruto. "You should be grateful I didn't kill your sister," Naruto said in an emotionless voice. Kankuro simply gazed upon Naruto's blood-red eyes and was starting to feel sleepy. "Kai!" Kankuro said, and flared his chakra, breaking Naruto's hypnotic eye. "Futon, Renkuden, vacuum wind bullet," Shukaku said, before slamming his hand in his stomach and expelling a very large ball of compressed wind. The ball itself was bigger than Naruto himself. Naruto gripped his fan and, channeling chakra trophet, he swatted the bullet away, making the ground shake from the pressure and power. Naruto jumped to the side to avoid Kankuro's puppet, and he noticed that the puppet's blades were filled with poison. "I need to take him out so I can focus on Gaara," Naruto thought before he dashed towards Kankuro's puppet. Naruto used his Sharingan and quickly found the chakra strings Kankuro was using to control his puppet. Naruto channeled Chakra Trough, one of his kunais, and used it to sever the strings, making the puppet fall limp to the ground. Naruto quickly appeared next to the fallen puppet and drove a Rasengan to it, shattering it to pieces. "Bastard!" Kankuro said to Naruto as he lost his best weapon. "What can you do now?" Naruto asked, pissing off Kankuro and making him jump from the Ichibi's head and run straight for Naruto. Naruto smirked when he noticed how easy it was to rattle Kankuro. Kankuro quickly arrived near Naruto and tried a horizontal slash only to Naruto duck. Naruto quickly rose up and trapped his arms, disarming him of his kunai. Naruto grabbed him tightly by the arm and flinged him through the air and slamming him into the ground. Naruto quickly placed his hand into Kankuro and placed a sleeping seal. Once Kankuro was disabled, he sealed him as well inside a stasis scroll. "Now that's done. It's only you," Naruto said, eyeing Shukaku. "Die!" Shukaku yelled as he fired a few more wind bullets, that in this case were more like the size of people themselves. Naruto swiftly dodged them and watched as they collided with the barrier, but it didn't even waver. "Good the barrier is holding even though it's powered by clones," Naruto thought. Naruto analyzed Shukaku and noticed he was very slow. He hadn't moved since he was released, so Naruto would take that as an advantage. Naruto took out a single shuriken. He placed it on his pointer finger in his right hand. Naruto molded wind chakra and slowly expelled it to the shuriken. Soon enough, the shuriken started spinning, and around it the wind started spinning as well, creating a circular saw. "Shuriken Windblade," Naruto said, and threw the shuriken. The shuriken went flying with impressive speed towards Shukaku, who remained in place as his mobility was inexistent. The shuriken arrived near Shukaku, and swiftly, and without much trouble, it cut right through his right arm, severing it completely and making it fall to the ground. The arm fell limply to the ground and started crumpling away until it remained nothing but sand on the ground. Although Shukaku just had his left arm severed, he didn't seem to be in any type of pain. "You entertain me, Uzumaki!" Shukaku yelled, and the sand above Shukaku's head started moving, and something could be seen popping out. Naruto narrowed his eyes to the figure emerging and saw that it was Gaara himself. Gaara placed his hands in the tiger seal and said, "Play possum jutsu," and promptly fell asleep. Gaara leaned forward, and his body went completely limp. Just as Gaara fell asleep, Shukaku's eyes glowed yellow and stayed like that, showing that it was Shukaku who was now in control. "I'm free." "I am going to kill you and then destroy everything!" Shukaku yelled as he was happy to be free once again. He looked down and saw Naruto staring at him. Seeing Naruto, Shukaku immediately went into action, trying to crush the blonde and leave the barrier so he could have fun. "Futon, Renkuden, vacuum wind bullet," Shukaku said, and started expelling compressed wind bullets towards Naruto, who was forced to start evasive maneuvers. Naruto watched very carefully as they hit the barrier. He couldn't allow Shukaku to roam free through the village, or he would destroy it. "Kaiten, Goryuka no Jutsu, Great Dragon Fire Technique," Naruto said, and unleashed a big fire dragon towards Shukaku. Naruto swinged his fan and empowered the flames, making them wider and bigger. The flames were almost the size of Shukaku himself. Shukaku let out a roar, and the flames were dispersed into nothing. Shukaku flexed his tail and tried to squash Naruto, but he jumped to the side to avoid it. The tail regressed back, but this time it stayed just above Shukaku's mouth. Suddenly, black and blue chakra could be seen floating in the air and gathering around Shukaku's mouth. The chakra started gathering and compressing itself in ball just outside of Shukaku's mouth. "Is that what I think it is?" Naruto asked when he watched the ball of chakra form itself, very much like Naruto used his Rasengan. "It's a Bijudama Biju bomb, and I don't think your clone-powered barrier can withstand that," Kurama said. "Even though Shukaku was the weakest of the 9, a Biju bomb is still strong. Let's see if this weapon truly lives to its name," Naruto said before gripping his fan tight. Shukaku stopped gathering chakra in the ball and suddenly fired it with tremendous speed. Naruto watched the purple ball coming towards him. Naruto grabbed his fan and placed it in front of him, his right hand grabbing the hilt while his left hand grabbed the other end. The fan was acting like a shield in front of Naruto. "Gaishi, reflection," Naruto said just before the bomb hit the fan. The Biju bomb collided with the fan, and at first, nothing happened. But suddenly, the bomb exploded, but instead of blowing Naruto, it was completely reflected towards Shukaku. The amount of pressure being put in the fan made Naruto kneel and ground beneath crack, but he was able to withstand the bomb, and the force of the explosion was sent towards Shukaku. Naruto placed the fan in his back and cleaned a bit of sweat that was dripping from the side of his face. "That went well," Naruto thought. "Now you believe what I said about the fan," Kurama said in a sarcastic voice. Yes. Now let's end this," Naruto replied, and watched as the smoke cleared and revealed a fully scorched Shukaku with his right arm missing as well. Naruto, concentrated and focused, is chakra. Suddenly, right beneath Shukaku, golden chains erupted from the ground and pinned him to the ground. Shukaku was fully trapped. He had chains wrapped around his tail, mouth, and the majority of his body, making him unable to do a single movement. Rat, ox, dog, boar. Naruto went through the hand signs and clapped his hands together. He slammed his right hand on the ground, and kanji started flowing out of it and going toward Shukaku and forming a ring around him. 5-point demonic suppression seal, Naruto said, and the kanji started glowing. Shukaku yelled in pain as his chakra was being forced back into the seal. All the shinobis stopped their fighting and looked at the arena where Shukaku was howling in pain. "You are not going anywhere," Naruto said. Naruto reinforced the chains as he could feel Shukaku trying to break them free and get away from the seal. Shukaku's form started to waver, and the sand slowly started crumpling and flowing back into Gaara. A few seconds later, and there was nothing but a ball of sand floating in the air. The ball of sand was becoming smaller and smaller by the second, when suddenly all the sand disappeared, and Gaara fell to the ground completely unconscious. Naruto approached Gaara and saw his new seal in Gaara's neck. It formed a complete circle around Gaara's main seal. Naruto looked carefully at him and noticed a few irregularities. The main seal had no suppressive seals in it, and no safe hatch. At this point, Gaara's seal was nothing more than an advanced storage seal. This is why Gaara is so unstable, Naruto thought before approaching him and also placing in a stasis scroll, putting him with his team. Naruto took a few deep breaths and dropped the barrier while shifting his eyes towards the roof where the Kage's battle was taking place. With Hinata had just received orders from Kakashi and went to join forces with Zabuza so they could bring the pain to the invading forces. Hinata quickly located Zabuza and Haku and jumped towards them. "We have orders, Zabuza," Hinata said, as she watched Zabuza behead a sound shinobi with his Kubikiri Bocho. "Which are?" Zabuza asked. "We are to group up and start sweeping the streets while evacuating and providing protection to the civilians. When the civilians are evacuated, we are to launch a counterattack," Hinata explained. "Let's go then," Zabuza said as he placed his blade to his back. They were about to leave when they saw a yellow flash. They narrowed their eyes and saw Naruto just arrive near them. "Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked, surprised to see him. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm a reinforced clone. Boss sent me to team up with all of you and provide protection to you as well," Naruto explained, and they all nodded. They all withdrew their weapons. Naruto picked a couple of three-pronged kunais, Haku took out senbon, and Hinata picked her daggers. They quickly left the arena and made their way towards the middle of the village, indicating the evacuation paths to the civilians. They were about to leave when a group of 10 sound shinobis jumped in front of them. Naruto quickly sensed their chakra levels, and they were ordinary chunins. "What do we have where?" the obvious sound leader asked. "A jonin and a couple of kids," he said, while the rest of the crew laughed. Obviously, these sound shinobi weren't watching the chunin exams, or they would have seen just what these kids could do. "It's time for the flash to resurface," Naruto said, and got confused looks from Zabuza and Haku. He smirked and threw one of his special kunais towards the enemy. They all laughed when the kunai didn't hit anyone, and Simple landed harmlessly on the ground in the middle of them. "Don't blink," Naruto said to his team and disappeared in a yellow flash. All Zabuza was able to see was a yellow flash. Naruto disappeared from view, and when Zabuza saw him once again, all of the sound shinobi fell to the ground dead, their throats slashed. "That was," Zabuza said, but trailed off as he pieced together who Naruto really was. "You are the son of the Kiroi Senku, Yellow Flash, aren't you?" Zabuza asked, but the answer seemed pretty obvious. "Yes, my father was Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Kiroi Senku, and the Yondaime Hokage, and also Uchiha Madara's son," Naruto explained, and got disbelief looks from Zabuza and Haku, who had her eyes widened. "I'm done trying to figure you out," Zabuza said, laughing. "Tell me, how long can you use that technique?" Zabuza asked. "It was a pain in the ass to create the seals. I can use it since I became genin," Naruto explained. "Unbelievable," Zabuza said while shaking his head in disbelief. "Let's continue," Zabuza said, and they grouped together and dashed once again through the streets. "Hinata," Naruto said, turning to her. "Use your Byakugan and see where we are needed." "This section is cleared," Naruto explained, and Hinata nodded before activating her Byakugan without any seals. She gasped to what she saw. "The academy is under siege," she said, and got disbelief looks from Naruto. "The academy?" he asked incredulously. "What about the barrier?" he asked. "There is no barrier. There's sound and sand shinobi trying to force entry, but Iruka-sensei and couple other chunins are holding them off," she explained. "Let's hurry then. I can't teleport all of you with the Hiroshin since I'm only a clone, and we will take too long if we walk," Naruto said, and got confused looks from the rest of the team. If he couldn't transport them and they couldn't walk, what else were they going to do? "This might feel a bit uncomfortable," Naruto said before activating his Kamui and sucking Zabuza, Haku, and Hinata into it. He quickly disappeared as well, leaving no trace of either of them. Academy. At the academy, things weren't looking pretty. Iruka and the other teachers were trying to hold off the enemy until shinobi could arrive, but they wouldn't last much longer. The chunin that was powering the barrier was tricked when a sand shinobi hinged into a konoha shinobi and infiltrated the barrier, killing the one powering it. The students were all scared. The enemy managed to collapse the tunnels leading to the bunkers, and since the barrier was down, the only keeping them alive were the teachers that were battling fiercely to protect the lives of their students by preventing the enemy from entering the academy. "Iruka, this doesn't look good," one of the teachers said. He was clearly tired. He was sweating from every place and was breathing very hard. Even thought he wasn't fatally injured, he was filled with small cuts and bruises from their fight. "We can't do much. We must hold it until reinforcements arrive," Iruka said. Iruka was also running low on chakra. Even though he was quite skilled for a chunin, a couple of chunins couldn't fend off 15 sand chunins indefinitely. "Just give up. You can't win," the obvious team leader said as he watched the teachers breathing heavily. They already managed to kill a couple of teachers, but these two were proving rather difficult. They were managing to keep them at bay by launching long-range jutsus and weapons. "Iruka, behind you!" the other teacher yelled. Looks like the exhaustion was finally catching up to them as a sand chunin managed to sneak up on Iruka. Iruka turned his head to see who was behind him when he noticed a kunai going for his throat. Iruka resigned to his fate as he couldn't do anything more to dodge. His chakra reserves were empty, and he was tired and running out of weapons. He had his eyes closed and was expecting the pain when he heard Raikiri. Iruka opened his eyes to see a hand enveloped in lightning piercing right through the sand shinobi's chest. The shinobi hit the ground dead. He didn't even scream. He was dead the moment Naruto pierced him. "Naruto," Iruka said, stuttering. "Don't worry, Iruka-sensei. We will take care of the rest," Naruto said, before space seemed to bend, and from his eyes popped the rest of his team, Zabuza, Haku, and Hinata. "What the hell was that brat?" Zabuza asked, feeling a bit disorientated. "A space-time ninjutsu similar to Mihirashin. Take care of them while I gather everyone inside the academy and put up a barrier," Naruto said, and the rest of his team dashed to the remaining 14 shinobis. In less than 5 minutes, every single one of them was dead. Between Hinata's gentle fist, Haku's senbon, and Zabuza's sword, no one stood a chance. "My God," Iruka said, stuttering, as he watched Hinata fight and sweep the enemy as if they were nothing more than ants. Hinata seemed to be dancing and flowing through the attacks of the enemy. Her Byakugan allowed her to pinpoint and track each enemy. She only needed to touch the enemy once. She honored the traditional style named as the gentle fist. One simple touch and the enemy would fall to the ground dead. Hinata had many to accomplish this. She could open the gate of death, making their heart explode. She could crack the chakra core, destroying the chakra network, killing the enemy. Or if she didn't have access to such places, she would use her jukin with lightning and infusing it through the enemy's network, frying it and killing the enemy. She truly was a goddess of death. "Iruka-sensei, what happened to the barrier?" Naruto asked, breaking Iruka of his thoughts. The barrier seals he created weren't supposed to come crashing very easily. It would require a powerful attack to destroy it. One sand shinobi hinged into a Konoha one and infiltrated the academy. He also managed to collapse the evacuation tunnels, Iruka explained. "I understand. It's very dangerous to evacuate so many students through the middle of the streets, so I'll put another barrier up," Naruto explained, and Iruka sighed in relief. It looked like his students were going to pull through. "Zabuza hold them off while I replace the barrier," Naruto said, and he nodded before his team took defensive stances, watching for any hostile shinobi while Naruto was doing his work. Naruto noticed all the seal tags in the all were destroyed and he needed to create new ones. He quickly took out a few empty tags from his storage seals and started writing seals. Iruka just watched in fascination the speed and quality at which Naruto drew the seals. It obviously proved that Naruto was very skilled in fuinjutsu. Naruto quickly finished the tags and Iruka examined them. Each kanji was perfectly drawn. Not a speck of imperfection could be seen. It almost looked like a work of art. "Get inside," Naruto said, and Iruka went to collect to the other teacher that was unconscious but not severely hurt. Once inside, Naruto made a shadow clone, and he made his way towards the outside of the academy. He slammed the tag on the wall and said, "Four-corner barrier," and yellowish barrier erupted, completely covering the academy grounds. Naruto's clone sat down in lotus position and started concentrating to increase the power of the barrier. The reinforced clone on the outside on the barrier said, "Iruka-sensei, you are safe now. We will continue to look through the village." Naruto turned away to join up with his team and moved to another sector of the village when they saw a big explosion that rose into the skies. Explosion, sight minutes. Earlier. B was running through the streets, trying his best to help out where he could. Darui and C teamed up with Omoy and Karin and went to grab Yugito at the infirmary. B quickly looked at the horizon and noticed a three-headed snake breaking through the walls of Konoha and starting to wreak havoc through the village. The shinobis were throwing jutsu after jutsu, but nothing seemed to work. "Push him out of the village!" one of the shinobis yelled as they threw explosive kunai towards the snake. But that didn't even screech the snake as he continued on her path. They were quickly running out of options when they heard what it seemed to be someone rapping, and a lame one at that. "You are going down, fool, you fool, because I'm the mighty killer B." B rapped, while running trough and jumping through the roofs and heading to face the snake. "I'll take care of that worm," B said before fully transforming into his bijou. There, standing in the middle of Konoha, was the Hachibi. B quickly wrapped the snake with his tentacles and threw at the air so she couldn't do any more destruction. All of his 8 tails quickly bent over his head, ending just above his mouth. Black and blue chakra was seen gathering around it and compressing it to form a perfect sphere. "Bijudama bijubam," B said, and shot the ball towards the snake that was in the air. The moment the ball collided, it immediately exploded in a show of fire and smoke. Seconds later, as the smoke was starting to clear, there was nothing remaining of the snake. He didn't know if she was obliterated or just went back to her reel, but at this point, it didn't matter. Konoha was safe for now. "Thanks for the help, B-san," a Konoha shinobi said, before picking up an injured comrade and going to the hospital. Konoha's walls. One of Naruto's clones was running through the village, clearing shinobis and helping civilians where he could. Due to him being a standard clone, even with his kamui, it was risky to engage in taijutsu, but he could always rely on ninjutsu, and he was really good at it. "Push them back!" Naruto heard a shinobi yelling and made his way towards him to provide as much help as he could. Even if he was a clone, at least he could be bait for slowing the enemy down. He arrived at the destination and saw a group of Konoha shinobis throwing jutsu and weapons, trying to delay a group of about 200 sand shinobis, led by the Kazekage, into the village. However, the group just kept throwing winjutsus, and having the Kazekage in there made sure they weren't harmed due to his gold sand dust. It wasn't looking good as the enemy kept coming. If help didn't arrive, it would be a massacre. Naruto arrived at their location and quickly surveyed the area looking for anyone he might know. His eyes landed on Anko. "Anko, what's happening?" Naruto asked. She looked around to find the annoying blonde. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" Anko asked. "Are you the reinforcements we asked?" she asked, hoping that the only reinforcements that came weren't Naruto alone. "I wasn't sent by anyone. I'm just a clone. Boss is taking care of Shukaku at the stadium," Naruto explained, and Anko stared dumbly at him before scowling. "Just my luck, a fucking clone," Anko said. "If you explained the situation, maybe I could help," Naruto said flatly, trying not to cause many problems, especially in the middle of an invasion. "Very simple. The Kazekage is leading 200 shinobis into the village and we aren't able to slow them down," Anko said, and stared at Naruto, waiting for his miraculous answer. "I think I have just the jutsu for this," Naruto said, smirking, making Anko raise an eyebrow. "But I'm just a clone, so it will take a couple of minutes to prepare. Can you hold them off until then?" Naruto asked. "I hope it's worth it," Anko said before yelling, "Hold off for a couple of minutes more. Hi-ai!" The shinobis that were with her yelled. They were very few in number compared to an overwhelming force of 200 trained shinobis. Naruto sat down in lotus position and clapped his hands together as if praying. He slowly drove them apart a few inches from each other, and sparks started flying between them. He continued concentrating, and after a few minutes, the sparks gathered in a blue sphere that was shining. "Okay, Anko, it's ready," Naruto said. And Anko turned around to see the jutsu. "That's it?" "A small blue sphere," Anko said, not believing her eyes. "So much work just for that?" "No faith," Naruto said, smirking, and launched the ball into the sky. The moment the ball hit the cloud level, it suddenly expanded in a bright flash of white. Everyone stopped and looked up to see what was happening. Just as the light died down, the clouds started gathering and sky was getting darker and darker by the moment. Thunders could easily be heard emanating the clouds. "Witness my best lightning jutsu," Naruto said, and everyone was focused in him. Naruto channeled lightning chakra to his hand and it started sparkling. He sent a beam into the sky and the thunders seemed to join and gather into a single massive one. The Kazekage was watching the skies very carefully, and when he noticed the dragon, he figured it wasn't going to be good for them. "Take cover!" the Kazekage yelled at his forces, but it was already too late. "Raiten! Kirin!" Naruto said, and his dragon roared his way towards the sand shinobi. The Kazekage tried to block with his sand, but it was far too slow. He didn't even have time to blink, as the dragon disappeared in a flash, and the ground where they stood exploded. Everything was ripped apart. Trees, stones, even the earth itself was destroyed, and where once stood the mighty Kazekage and his 200 shinobis was now nothing more than a 100-meter-wide crater. Anko and the other shinobis didn't manage to see what exactly happened. All they saw was a flash of light and the ground exploding. The dust cleared and there was no one remaining alive. The ones that survived the initial explosion were simply electrocuted and left in ashes due to the power of the thunder. "Holy shit, Gaki!" Anko yelled, shaking his shoulders, and her eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. The reaction of the rest of the shinobis was pretty much the same. They were all busting their asses to keep the enemy away, and Naruto arrives, fires a very powerful lightning jutsu, and it's all over, just like that. "I told you to have faith," Naruto said, panting. Even though the jutsu didn't take much chakra, the concentration necessary to use the jutsu was very high for a simple clone. "I'm dispelling now," Naruto said, and Anko nodded dumbly. "So what now?" one of the shinobis asked. With the Kage's Edo Tensei, a forbidden technique that summons a soul from the pure world to the world of the living, impure world, in order to do the biting of the summoner. Besides moral ramifications, this technique is considered forbidden because it costs a human life to anchor the soul to the world. This technique was invented the Senju Tobirama, the Nidaime Hokage, although the reasons to why he did are still unknown. The moment the four's coffins opened, the shinobi inside were instantly recognized. They were all legends and powerful in their own way. In the first coffin was a tall man with tanned skin, dark eyes, and waist-length black hair, typically styled in a center-parted fringe that framed his face. His attire took the form of the standard shinobi dress of his era, consisting of dark red traditional armor, similar to that of samurai, worn over a simple black suit. This armor was constructed from numerous metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body, in particular, chest, shoulders, thighs, and forearms. Each collar of his shoulder guards bore the Senju symbol emblazoned on them. This man was none other than Senju Hashirama, the Shodaime Hokage himself, and the original Shinobi no Kami, god of shinobi. In the second coffin was a woman. She had long, bright red hair and large, pupilless eyes. She wore an elaborate, high-collared kimono with the Uzushiogakure symbol on the back of the obi, which was tied around her waist. Her hair was arranged in buns with hairpins in them and 3 clips in the front. She also wore a dark shade of red lipstick and had a violet-colored diamond mark on her forehead. She also wore tags with kanji written on them in her hair decals. She also carried a huge red scroll on her back, similar to Jiraiya. She was Uzumaki Mito, Konoha's Benihime, Red Princess, and the wife of Senju Hashirama. In the third coffin was a tall man, fair-skinned man with white, shaggy hair, dark-colored eyes, and 3 red markings on his face, one under each of his eyes and one on his chin. In most cases, he wore the wartime attire, armor emblazoned with the Senju symbol worn over a simple black suit with a distinctive white fur collar. This armor was constructed from numerous blue metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body, in particular, chest, waist, shoulders, and upper arms. This clothing was accompanied by sandals and a hapuri engraved with the Konoha emblem, in the place of the more traditional forehead protector. He was Senju Tobirama, Konoha's Suiro, water dragon, and the Nidaime Hokage of Konoha. In the last coffin was another woman. She had a slender but feminine build, fair skin, blue eyes, crimson hair with strands that framed both sides of her. She was wearing the traditional black onbu pants with white tape around the ankles. Around her chest, she had anbu chestplate above simple black suit. She had gloves in each arm that covered her entire arm, almost reaching her shoulders. On her back, a 28 inches long black katana with red hilt. She was Uzumaki, former Senju Kushina, Konoha's Akanoshi, Red Death, wife of the Yondaime Hokage, but most importantly, mother of Uzumaki Naruto. This isn't good, the Hokage muttered under his breath, and the Raikage and Jiraiya couldn't help but to agree. After all, standing in front of them were 4's Kage levels shinobis, not to mention Orochimaru himself, and the fact that being an Edo Tensei provides Dei Shinobi with limitless chakra and immortality didn't help much. "Where am I?" Kushina asked as she surveyed her surroundings. The last thing she remembered was saying goodbye to her son. "Edo Tensei?" Tobirama asked out loud, snapping Kushina from her thoughts. "That man brought us back with my forbidden technique, ironic," Tobirama said. "Edo Tensei," Kushina thought as she watched who she was going to fight against. It was a bulky man with blonde hair, so she assumed he would Akumo-nin, Jiraiya and Sarutobi Hiruzen. Hiruzen seemed older than what she remembered, so it must have been some time. Hiruzen, Kushina called out, getting his attention. "How long has it been?" she asked. 14 years, he replied solemnly. "How is Naruto doing?" she asked. She felt bad for leaving Naruto alone and leaving him with such burden, but there wasn't any other choice at the time. Even though the civilians made his life a nightmare, he still turned out an splendid shinobi. You would be proud of him, the Hokage said with a small smile. "He even found love," the Hokage said. "That's good. Grandmother always said that to support the hate of being a Jinchuriki, I should fill myself with love, right?" she asked, turning towards Senju Mito, who was quiet observing the reed head. "Kushina-chan?" she asked, not believing her eyes. Her little girl grew so much since the last time she saw her. It was a shame she was already dead, and apparently she left a son behind. "Good to see you again, grandmother," she said, smiling. "Hey, take that Tobirama," my line continued on while you were always brooding around, Hashirama yelled, pointing towards his brother. "Tick," Tobirama replied, crossing his arms. Orochimaru remained quiet while they were interacting, and found it very interesting that Kushina called Mito her grandmother. "Care to explain why you called Mito your grandmother, Kushina-chan?" Orochimaru asked. "Why should I answer to you, pedophile?" Kushina replied. Orochimaru got pissed and forced his control on her Edo Tensei, forcing her to answer all of his questions. "My true name is Senju Kushina. I'm the daughter of Senju Tsunade and Kato Dan," she replied in a monotone. If Orochimaru was surprised, he didn't show it, but he always thought that Tsunade's daughter had died. Tsunade only had one daughter and she died, Orochimaru replied. He was getting very interested. My death was faked to stop the CRA from taking place. With me dead and Tsunade leaving the village, we were both safe, Kushina replied, and Orochimaru smirked. Naruto was the perfect vessel, the strength of the Senju body with the power of the Sharingan. Delicious. He shall be mine, Orochimaru thought. It really was a bad decision on your part, brother, Hashirama said to his brother regarding the CRA law that was created by the Nidaime Hokage. It was always for the betterment of the village, Tobirama replied. I don't doubt that, but you are too distant and cold. You are always brooding around like the Uchihas. You need a strong woman to straighten you up, Hashirama said, and Tobirama remained impassive. Maybe you should set him up with someone, Mito-chan, Hashirama said. turning to his beloved wife Senju Mito. She didn't age a day he last saw her, and her beauty remained unparalleled, to him at least. "We are all dead, Hashirama-kun," Mito replied with a deadpan expression. "My bad," Hashirama replied, chuckling and scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. The Hokage, Raikage, and Jiraiya were all watching the interaction with fascination. It saddened the old Hokage's heart to see his former teachers and some of the greatest shinobi of the leaf brought back from the dead to serve under a despicable man. "I should have killed him when I had the chance," the Hokage thought with shame. All the evil Orochimaru had brought could have been stopped if he had been strong back then. "Enough talk, kill them all," Orochimaru commanded, and they all took their stances. Hashirama and Tobirama crouched and took their taijutsu stance. Mito picked the scroll up, and Kushina took out her sword. The Konoha defenders braced themselves for what was coming. "How do you want to do this?" the Raikage asked. 5 shinobis against 3 hardly seemed fair to anyone. 5 against 3 doesn't add up very well, Jiraiya said. "Don't count me in. I'll just watch for now," Orochimaru said, smirking. "I'll take my former's teachers. Jiraiya, you take Mito since she fights with seals, and the Raikage will take Kushina," the Hokage explained, and they both nodded. "Raikage-dono, don't underestimate Kushina. She almost as fast as you," the Hokage explained, and he rose an eyebrow. He knew that Kushina was a very powerful kunoichi, but fast. He will have to see. Hokage's battle, AN. I'll refer to Hashirama and Tobirama as Hokages, and the third as Hiruzen. "Get ready, Hiruzen. We can't control our bodies, but we will try and help as we go," Hashirama said. "It's a shame to see you in this condition. As Sarutobi Hiruzen, Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure, I shall defeat you both," the Hokage said as he removed his Hokage's robes, revealing the armor underneath. A full-body black suit with mesh armor underneath and steel plates in the arms. The Hokages suddenly started running, heading towards Hiruzen. Hashirama arrived first and tried a spin kick, making Hiruzen crouch to avoid it. Hashirama continued his attacks with a few punches, but Hiruzen blocked them all. Hiruzen crouched and tried to sweep his legs, making Hashirama jump up and back. As Hashirama was pushed back, Tobirama jumped into the fray. Tobirama quickly arrived near Hiruzen and jumped over him. Tobirama quickly turned and threw a set of punches, trying to catch Hiruzen off guard. Tobirama jumped up and tried a drop kick that Hiruzen caught. Hiruzen spinned and threw Tobirama into the air. Even in his old age, Hiruzen was still considered the most powerful man in the village, and this was the proof of it. Managing to hold your own in taijutsu against 2 Hokages at his old age was no easy feat. "My turn now," Hiruzen said, and the Hokages braced themselves for his attack. Hiruzen went through a couple of hand seals and said, "Katon Karyu Enden," fire dragon bullet, and sent a torrent of fire that engulfed the Hokages. The flames were covering completely the Hokages, but they remained still. A benefit of the Edo Tensei is as immortal body. Hiruzen, seeing that his technique wasn't having effect, he poured more chakra into it, turning the flames with white hot. Tobirama, seeing the spike in Hiruzen's chakra, flashed trough hand seals.